everyone, and welcome back to my channel, The Grim Reader. I am Kathy Grimm, The Grim Reader, and I am back with another weekly reading etc. update. Let me think about the etcetras. Shirley's on the mend. I think I posted something about her having, like, the nose is better and her disposition is better, and we did get feedback from the vets such that it's nothing serious and they think it might be viral. So, but she's better and it's all kind of pink, but we think it's gonna, I think the pigment will come back. Anyway, she's good. And then the past week has been fine. I've been very busy today. I take, because I'm teaching with a new book and I'm not used to preparing with it, it takes me so long to figure out how to structure my lessons. I'm just taking too much time, and it is a little bit of a luxury that I have because I'm just a teaching professor and I don't need to do research or anything. I always had a hard time with the balance of teaching and doing a good job with my teaching and doing research, partly because I'm a perfectionist and I have kind of anxiety regarding being thought of as not a good teacher, for lack of, just because of the way I am with my sensitivity issues and being overly sensitive. It all played a part in me kind of being continually somewhat stressed about that, and it's just hard to do a good job in every sector. And so, like today, I spent too much time probably on the one class, and then I quickly went and got ready to teach the first class of Angela Carter's The Bloody Chamber, which is a fantastic story in this collection of her rewritings of fairy tales. But I've read it so many times that I can sort of just quickly do it, and I have the PowerPoint ready to go. I mean, I have lots of thoughts about it all the time, sort of ongoing, and I get to revisit it every time I teach the class, so it's fine. The fairy tale class is going fine, I think. And in terms of everything else, there's some kind of unsettling things going on that I can't go into details about, of course, for obvious reasons, to do with the restructuring of perhaps even our department. I don't know. I won't say anything else about it. It's all up in the air. But, foreign language departments everywhere are having a hard time. And yeah, we just keep fighting the good fight, and we have great students, and what can you do? And in my own little world, everything is hunky-dory, so to speak. I feel fine. I still think I'm doing better energy-wise than I was last year because I'm not having taught over the summer. I still have aches and pains and get tired, but everything is fine. And right now I really do feel like we're entering into the last phase of the semester, even though it's not even November, but it's soon to be November. October is finishing up, and so for me that means that I am sort of even more now thinking of my travels in December, but we'll see. And also Vlogmas, I think I will do Vlogmas, but there's one day when I kind of am very busy with something that I can't talk at all about, basically because it's secret, and I'm wondering if I could just do Vlogmas but just not do it on that day, maybe, I don't know. Something like that. It's at the beginning of December. I'll figure something out. It's not a big deal. Let's see. Let's get into the reading. So the thing that I finished was this. It's big because the reprint is so large. And by the way, there was one page missing. They jilted me out of my page 16 or something. Just the people who do the reprints you have to be careful. Yeah, here. It's 17, and I'm like, where is page 16? It's just not there. And what a strange little story that I don't highly recommend it for anyone. It's so niche. But she's an interesting character, this lady who became very Catholic, Theodora Lane Clark. Her mother, in a way, is more interesting because she's who I call sort of the seaweed lady, but she did write sort of folklore of Guernsey. And, Theodora is interesting, too. And the novel about this little boy who gets shipped off to England to work for a person. It's a very strange plot. It's just, you can just tell it's not even, I don't even know if it's second rate. It's not terribly, the writing itself is not terrible. Like, it's not cringe-inducingly written, but the plot is very strange. And so this little boy ends up with this person, and he runs off trying to sell violets, and then he has this thing with two little mice. There's this thing about pets, so And then, but then what happens is some kind of lady, her name is Jane Hayden, who's a sweet lady who's also an artist, kind of takes her under his wing and becomes his sort of quasi-fairy godmother. And then he has an accident where his leg is wounded. So for a long time he's in the hospital, and they come visit him, this lady who's sort of taken her under his wing, and her nieces, these two little girls who they call Little Red Riding Hoods because of just what they wear. They come and visit him. So it kind of meanders along this funny, terrible things happen, but then good things happen type way. And then the ending's very strange. So in the beginning, it started up with him and his little girlfriend, Nana, who stays behind, of course, when he goes to England. And so it's all set up on you thinking that he will find her and they will reconnect. And he does find her. They go back to Rome, whatever. And she's already had a different kind of life where she's with a relative who lives in a fishing village. So she's become a sort of fishing, helping with the nets and everything to do with fishing. And then at the end, there's a sort of awkward situation where you can tell she still really likes Cesare, the boy who's now a 20-year-old. But he still likes her, but he doesn't really want to be married to her. And it kind of gives a sense of, well, he's become too well educated for this fisher girl. And it kind of ends on that, like she goes off and marries the person who wants to marry her anyway. And he's somewhat relieved, even though he still likes her, to be let go out of the marriage. And he goes and takes care of his fairy god person who becomes blind at the end. And then, of course, I have a feeling that many of you are going to read it anyway, so it doesn't matter. She passes away, and he, at the end, is living in Rome, working. His vocation is to be an artist, just like this lady who took him in. He lives for art. He wants to be an artist, which I also think is strange. Like, it's not very middle class in that sense. He wants to be an artist, and he stays behind and works for an American person in Rome. But it's a strange story. I mean, it's not a terrible story, and I'm kind of glad I read it because it's my relative. But yeah, that's enough on where Roman violence and where they blossom. That's enough I'll say about that. And I'm glad I read it for Victober, a very strange niche Victober read. Bye-bye. Moving on to, I have not had a lot of time to reconnect with my long read, which is Charlotte Young's Pillars of the House, which I really did like. And it's this big family where the one parent has died, the other parent's failing, and what's happening to all the kids. I'm kind of like invested in what's happening to other kids. So these big family sagas kind of pull you in. And I'm looking at it right now, and I haven't had a chance to read it because of time. And when I had a chance, I wanted to finish the other book. And that one, The Pillars of the House, is very long, so I won't be able to finish that by next week, which means I'm not sure. I still want to read it, but in terms of my channel and having a weekly update, it would be nice to be. I'm being pretty good about finishing something every week. I mean, most people finish multiple things in a week, but not me. It doesn't matter. We'll see. I have two other sets of things to talk about. My next read, the audio, and then I think I'll do what I'm reading. So the main read for my audio right now is John Galsworthy's The Forsyte Saga. And this kind of cover kind of bothers me because all the people I told this to Bill and he said I should get over it, but I don't get over such things. So let me just point it out to you. This is supposed to be the character Irene in the novel, and she's married to Holmes in a very unhappy marriage because he's awful. He's awful in an interesting way, but basically it hinges on him basically what the word that I'm not am I allowed to say it on YouTube? Basically he rapes her within marriage, but whatever. But anyway, that's not the point I'm getting at. And this is the other guy, Bassini, who's also doesn't look as dreamy as this guy. Isn't this the Horatio Hornblower guy? I think it might be. Anyway, I don't think the actual person, the way he's described in the book, isn't as dreamy looking as this guy. And Irene is over and over described as very beautiful and with a beautiful figure, but she's supposed to have long golden locks, not dark hair, not this hair. Okay, she was beautiful, and I remember her from the series. I don't know her name, but she had long golden locks, so they went with the wrong hair color. I don't know, I'm sorry, I should get over it, but this is my fact, this is sort of one of, and I'm making fun of it a little bit, but I actually think this is a kernel of truth here. It's an indication of my perhaps not completely neuronormal tendencies, is that I get fixated on things that are not really that important. If you know, you know. I think that's a kind of indicative, and I've done this all my life, and I remember stories of my mother sort of, me getting really upset about her using the wrong color for something, and me kind of having a conniption about that, like some kind of coloring thing, which was completely unimportant. And I still remember having a conniption about it, and kind of like feeling like it was really wrong to use the wrong color. So, not to overemphasize, but just the indications of the wackiness of my brain. But let me tell you a little bit about what I found out in the meantime. So Galsworthy is a fascinating fellow, born in the 1860s and died in the 1930s. So he's kind of directly coming out of Victorian into whatever post-Victorian is. And the work itself, so his life, let me think what I remember about his life. Upper middle class, his father was a solicitor, but his grandfather had made his money being a ship chandler, which I had to look up. And it's apparently someone who makes a lot of money buying stuff for ships, like what are on ships, like putting Ausstattung, as we say in German, buying all the things that a ship needs. So kind of nouveau riche. And from what I gather, the relationship was that they all liked the father a lot better, who was older than the mother. None of the children related closely or connected closely emotionally to the mother, who I guess was sort of, for lack of a better term, like middle class and narrow-minded, whereas the father was more benevolent. And his siblings are really interesting too, specifically his older sister, Lily, who ended up marrying a German artist whose art I really liked, George Sauter. And he was actually even put into internment camp because of the First World War. And she apparently was very smart, very intellectually interested in all kinds of things, and encouraged John, who also trained to be a solicitor but never really cared for the law that much, even though you can tell he knew about the law from the way he writes about it in here. And he sort of does this thing where he travels a lot, and it takes a while for him to settle down, but he does settle into writing. And the love of his life happened to be his cousin's wife. And they settled down after his father dies, because his father would not have liked the fact that he was going to run away with his cousin's wife, Ada Galsworthy. And I'll do more research, but from what I could gather, he was sort of an activist, and for liberal, slightly left of center causes, animal welfare, like the humane conditions under which animals should be euthanized for food, and other things. So he was interested in a lot of social causes, and from what I gather, he was really well known for his plays, not so much for the novel. And his plays were really well thought of. And in 1932, so just a year before his death, he did get the Nobel Prize. And it's funny how I think it's Wikipedia that says he was the only second English writer to get it. But they kind of and the first one was Kipling. But the thing is, Yeats got it, and Sinclair Lewis, so an American person, and one other Irish person got it. Although now I'm blanking on who it was. So what Yeats got it, and Sinclair Lewis, so an American and an Irish person, but no English person, got it in between Kipling and Galsworthy in 1932. And just because it is a family saga, and I'm thinking of another Nobel Prize winning person who got it for his family saga book in the 1920s, and that's Thomas Mann, who got it for Buddenbrooks, and that was when he was still quite young. Thomas Mann gets the Nobel Prize for writing Buddenbrooks. And there's just basic similarities because it's two sagas. I guess the basic difference between Buddenbrooks and Forsyth is that Buddenbrooks is more kind of historical. It starts out early and goes through the generations, and it kind of shows the decline of the family because of what's happening in society, but also sort of this weird Mannian obsession with the people themselves not being as robust for some reason, and the mixing of Mann has some kind of strange ideas, I guess. It's almost, it's not eugenics really, but it's sort of Mannian eugenics, just for lack of a better term. but he does sort of seems to, as I recall, suggest that the lady who's the musician that the one Buddenbrooks guy falls in love with, that their marriage was sort of strange, and so the offspring of their marriage was not inclined towards the business. And anyway, but that's quite different from Forsyth. So the thing about Forsyth Saga is it is an exceptionally well written book. I love the prose. The prose is excellent, and I highly recommend it for that reason. And so, for example, I remember I was sort of ranting on Hardy because I thought, well, we don't get enough of the interiority of these people that I'm interested in. And in a certain sense, it's similar because so one of the main sort of threads is this marriage between Soames Forsyth and Irene. And Irene is this wonderful, beautiful woman who Soames is completely obsessed with, like completely obsessed with. It's not even love, it's more like obsession from the get-go, and he wants to have her, and Goldsworthy does a really good job of showing how he wants to possess her. He wants to kind of put her, you know, he loves pictures and paintings, and he wants her in his collection. So I mean, in my fairy tale class, we're doing the Bluebeard thing, which is all about wanting women in your collection and then doing terrible things to them. Not that Soames is really a Bluebeard, but he doesn't really know, he's incapable of relating to anyone, and especially his wife, in a normal, loving, warm way. And I haven't quite figured out why. It's just something to do with, I mean, in a way, the whole novel is about how weird the Forsyths are and how they are all kind of strangely emotionally crippled, but still kind of interesting. And they're not all the same. Like the old guy, old Jolyon, who's basically supposed to be somewhat based on John Goldsworthy's father. He seems to be sort of softening a little bit, and he's reconnecting with the son that had to sort of leave the family fold because of his marriage choice. And Soames is his nephew, not his son. And so Irene is someone who we don't really get her interiority at all. We just see her from the way they all see her. But because the writing is so strong, and because it's sort of just set up as, well, this is their story, and she's kind of an outsider who's come in and who's sort of suffering at the hands of these people. So it's not set up in a way that you think that we would get her story. And that's kind of the difference to Bathsheba in that book, The Madding Crowd, is just something I'm thinking about. So I'm sort of okay with us not really finding out much about her inner world. I mean, we can sort of all we get is how weird she is with Soames, which is the way she's being able to successfully fight him off is to be very, very low affect, to give him nothing. And it's actually kind of admirable on her part, because I wouldn't be able to do it because I'm just not like that. But to be able to just be very, like, not angry and not just nothing. The wall thing is going on there, and of course that makes Soames, it infuriates him. Of course what happens is it becomes a triangle story because of the architect, you know, this guy, but he doesn't really look like this, I don't think, comes along and falls in love with her too. And I'm only about 200 and so pages in, maybe a little bit more. And, you know, I'll give you an update next week. I don't know. This one, I have to say, even though I'm enjoying it, it's not one like with Trollope, I just kind of like let it go. I can listen for a long time. I just kind of go with the flow and do my things. This one, I don't want to listen to it as much or for as long a time as the Trollope. I don't know. It's still very good though. It's fine. And I'm reading it much quicker than I would if I were actually reading it. So there's that. 18 minutes, 19 minutes. Okay. Just at the end here, two acquisitions. So the first one is I did get my copy of the Meditations, Marcus Aurelius, which I really want to read. And I haven't done a lot of research, but I do remember looking into it, and I didn't understand. So he was an emperor, Caesar, you know, a Roman emperor, and apparently from 161 to 180, and a Stoic philosopher. And he wrote this in Greek, and these are his notebooks. So this is sort of the stuff that wasn't front facing as much as some of his other works, apparently. So these are his little ancient texts that he wrote about, you know, how to live your life. but I think it's interesting that he wrote them in Greek, even though he's, of course, he's Latin, he's Roman. So, and it's a beautiful kind of edition. I'm glad I got this hardcover. I will read it, and I hopefully won't take me forever to get to it. And it's got a lot of footnotes, which is fine. I like footnotes. So, yes. And the other thing, completely different. So I do kind of miss not talking to people about my stationery stuff on the YouTubes. I mean, I don't miss it that much, but it's all on my Instagram. I have my Station Cat 24 Instagram if you want to check out all my stationery stuff, and going through being in love with this planner and that system and whatever, the whole stationery thing. And one of the intersections are kind of illustrators that I like. And so I got this book that is called The Wheel of the Year, and it's beautiful, and it's by it's written by Fiona Cook, and one of my favorite illustrators is Jessica Rue. And even like the cover, the opening is so pretty. I love it so much. And so it's just all about the Wheel of the Year. So we have the summer solstice, we have it starts off with this picture here saying that magic is real, however you want to take that. Spring equinox, lunasa. Let me go to the so it doesn't have everything, so it's just whatever they decide the Wheel of the Year is. Ostara, Beltane, Midsummer, Lunasa, Mabon, Samhain. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, which is kind of right now. But there's all kinds of stuff to do with Samhain that I'm seeing on the internet. It's like it's not really a Celtic Fire Festival. It's something else. All Hallows Eve is all kinds of stuff. I should just read this. I'm trying to just think how to read it. Like, and then of course after Samhain we have Yule, and then in the winter you have Imbolc. And it's just it has all kinds of stuff that I really just want to read about. Plus I just love the illustrations. Basic herbarium, we have the basic herbarium. And it's just sort of a nice book for me to dip into when I'm feeling kind of witchy, which, I don't really... I lean into this stuff because I think it's fun and interesting, but I'm not really that serious about it, like even with the crystals. I remember I was leaning into the crystals, and I don't regret any of it, but like right now when I sometimes hold a crystal, and yeah, but that's okay. I don't care. It's like, it's just, you gotta try stuff out, and yeah. So those are my 2 acquisitions. We're at 23 minutes. I hope you're all well. Thank you for your comments. I've been trying to backtrack and give back feedback, and it's good because I reconnect to people and find out what people are up to. And yeah, and I will see you next week. And happy November. Goodbye, October. Oh my gosh, we're almost going towards the end of the year. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.